clear oil from beaten olives. This was the fuel that the Israelites needed to sustain the Ner Tamid, the eternal flame. Not just at the ancient temple in Jerusalem, after olive trees were planted and protected, but even in the wilderness, while the Israelites journeyed for 40 years, God is explicit. The common Israelites, not the priests, must bring this clear olive oil to enable the perpetual burning of the lamp that is placed over the ark that held and that still holds our sacred texts. I've been imagining our ancestral family on this journey, always on the lookout for olive trees, gathering their precious fruits, huddled in their family units as they procured the necessary oil. Hard work, we know, was necessary. And pride, I can only imagine, also swelled in each person who carefully carried their cruse of oil to the priest, as each drop was added to the Ner Tamid, as the flame burned, a sign of the sacred each person helped to sustain. The Ner Tamid, which is up there, the eternal flame, embodies our perpetual connection to these ancient Israelites, as well as with Jews who built and sustained both temples in Jerusalem and with the ancient and still burgeoning Jewish communities of the diaspora. The Ner Tamid may be the only commanded practice originally associated with the ancient tabernacle that is still in use today. And the responsibility falls not on the priests or rabbis or community leaders. Rather, it is for all of us. Imagine all of the sanctuaries these lights have illuminated, the holiday services and observances that they have brightened, the learning, the celebrations and sadnesses that have sanctified these spaces. The Ner Tamid also connects us to our Barnert history. This may be our last Rosh Hashanah in this sanctuary. This space is so special to us. So many people helped us get here, including many of our Pattersonians who are here today. Before the concrete was poured right here at the site of our ark, a geniza, a sacred burial place, was declared, as the community buried ritual items no longer fit for use, including a Torah scroll. The pews many of us are sitting in came with us from a sanctuary in Patterson, and the art that hangs around this room once outfitted our sacred ark and scrolls within. At the conclusion of my words, we will hear a composition most certainly offered in Patterson, composed by the great 19th century Jewish liturgical composer, Louis Lewandowski. In this holy place, we are connected to generations before us who prayed in Patterson. The sanctuary in which we sit right now has been a holy place for the Barnert community since it was dedicated in 1987. But what makes a space a sanctuary? I ask this question toward the beginning of every single school year with our JJP students as we begin our weekly Tefillah services together. What makes this space special, I say to them? What makes it holy? So I say, look around and tell me what you notice around this room that makes us holy. You don't have to call it out, but, look around. The stained glass windows are almost always the first thing somebody says, followed by the bima, or the flags, the menorah, the prayer books in front of you. That thing up there, they point over here, that's usually a newer student, and a more seasoned student then responds, it's called an ark. It's where our Torahs live, somebody calls out excitedly. Actually, our Torah really lives in each of us, I might add, but I digress. And the crystals on top, somebody always gets, the Ner Tamid. Great, I say. What else makes this space so special? We do. One of our brilliant Barnert students always pipes in. We make this space special when we enter, when we talk with each other, when we pray, when we study and sing, when we are happy and when we are sad, when we show up for each other. We make this place kadosh, holy. Ve'asu li mikdash ve'shachanti betocham. Make for me a sanctuary, the Torah retells, so that I can dwell within you, around you, between you, beside you. Among the first instructions given to the Israelites at Sinai were the building plans for their first sanctuary, the tabernacle. Just as God built a home for humanity in the creation story of Genesis, we build a home for God in the closing chapters of Exodus. Our ancient rabbis imagine a moment just before God issued these blueprints, as the people are wandering, still quite far from their destination, imagining that the people may be feeling unmoored or disconnected or alone. For how long must I travel without a home? We hear them ask. God answers, make for me a sanctuary so that I need not be on the outside. The words of the rabbis resonate. Make for me a sanctuary so that I need not be on the outside. Build a place where God dwells with us, a place where nobody feels like an outsider. Said another way, God dwells with us when we build spaces where each person who comes inside feels that they belong. Reflect for a moment on the places where you feel included, where you know you belong. Is it your home? Maybe your childhood home? Maybe it's right here. What is it about your place that helps you feel so comfortable? Who is there with you as you imagine it? What does it feel like to know that you belong? Creating a feeling of belonging for this community, for you, for us, has been a North Star as we prepare for our eventual transition from this holy space to our next. So what makes a space holy? Our ancestral parent Jacob was the first to call a place holy. Immediately after awakening from his dream of angels ascending and descending the ladder to the stars, Jacob utters these words, Ma norah hamakom hazeh. How awesome is this place? Jacob was in the wilderness. No building, no people, no stained glass windows, none of the markers of sacred space that we have today. But the place, the makom in Hebrew, was nevertheless filled with God's presence. In the language of Rabbi Amy Kalmanofsky, it was a place that was saturated with God, a place where we not only recognize, but also feel God's presence. We've already sung Jacob's words today, Hamakom hazeh, as we heard our first blast of the shofar, and we will sing them again in the last two remaining parts of our shofar service. We call attention to Hamakom hazeh, this place, to what it is, to how we feel here, to the way this connection stays with us even when we are not inside, inspiring us to live Jewishly everywhere. Hamakom hazeh, this place is a makom kadosh, a holy and sacred place, a place where we belong. This has infused our work to reimagine and redesign our new sanctuary, one that will be inclusive of all, that is beautiful, that holds us, that inspires us, that orients us toward each other, face to face, a makom kadosh, a place in which the divine dwells. My teacher, our teacher, Rabbi Larry Hoffman writes, our sacred stories make ordinary sites sacred by the residue of memory. The memories from Patterson originally transformed this place into a sacred place for us. Ma norah hamakom hazeh, how awesome is this place? You may know the timeless story of Choni and the carob tree. Choni was out walking, surprised to see an older woman planting a carob tree, when it was clear that she would not be alive by the time the tree would bear fruit. When he asked her, why she planted this tree at this time, she responded, "When I was born into this world, I found many beautiful carob trees planted by those who came before me. I am planting trees for my children and my grandchildren." We are Choni's grandchildren, so to speak. We have been gathering here for 36 years for weekly Shabbat services, for religious school tefillah, for holiday celebrations and congregational meetings. We have raised generations of young people, blessing hundreds of preschool graduates as they finished at Barnert, celebrating surely more than 1,000 young people as they became adults in the eyes of the Jewish tradition, and learned from our teens as they led services, chanted Torah, and reaffirmed their Jewish identities during confirmation. On this bima, we have named oodles of babies, and at the foot of the steps here, we have sat beside the caskets of people we have loved, the stories of their lives filling this room during their funerals. When the time comes, we will carry all of this into our new sanctuary, along with, for some of us, a feeling of loss that comes with the change. To an outsider, this sanctuary might appear to be a room filled with special items. Simply, that is all. But to us, this holy place is sanctified by our service here to God, to each other, to doing the work of justice and love outside of these walls. Just as we carried forth Hoffman's residue of memory when we moved from Patterson to Franklin Lakes, so too we will carry it forward. In this way, we are also Choni, whose carob nourished future generations. We are Choni as we make our new place sacred, when we ask questions, pray, sing, shed tears of sadness and tears of joy when we are quiet, when we learn and grow, when we plant and plan for the future. This is how we make a space for God to dwell with us. If God dwells anywhere, Hoffman continues, it is where sacred place and sacred story intersect with the emerging picture of our own lives. God dwells at the intersection of sacred place and sacred story. Our sacred stories often shape our sense of purpose or our mission. Here at Barnert, we knew it was our time as a community to write a new mission statement, our articulation of purpose, and a new vision statement, our aspirations for our future. So this past year, Chani Getter, Sue Klein, and Lisa Summers led a group of Barnert members to craft statements from words we gathered from you in surveys and listening campaigns and whiteboards with open-ended questions posted around our building. We wanted our spiritual work, our shared story, to be mirrored in the design of our new home, to do them hand in hand. Our new mission statement emerged from this process. We live a loving, accessible Judaism where lifelong learning, spiritual exploration, and the pursuit of justice inspire us to embrace the sacred in each other. At Barnert, we live Judaism that is loving and acceptable to each of us, wherever and whenever we enter. How do we do this? With the tools that are as ancient as they come. Torah, Avodah, and Gemilut Chasadim are three pillars: lifelong learning, spiritual exploration, and the pursuit of justice. For what purpose? To be able to embrace the sacred in each other. Those of us here, part of the Barnert community, as well as our larger world with whom we live outside of these walls. Rabbi Hoffman's words reverberate. God dwells at the intersection of sacred place and sacred story. This is and will continue to become our Makom Kadosh, our holy place. We make our Makom, our place, Kadosh, holy. We do this by making it inclusive of all, by making it beautiful, ensuring that it holds us and inspires us, that it orients us toward each other face to face, a place in which the divine dwells, where we live our mission. And there, in the middle of it all, is the Ner Tamid, the light that we keep burning with the precious fuel of our spiritual commitment, bringing our full selves our joy and our sorrow, our longing for connection, our hope for a better world, to this shared sacred enterprise. The Ner Tamid illuminates our connection to our ancestral and global families. It shines its light on all people and all places that have kept the flame of Judaism alive. And here at Barnert, it glows with the memory of all the places that we have made a home. As you entered the sanctuary today, you walked past our memorial alcove right under the arch there. And I'll add here, if you don't usually walk in this way, take a look at some point today. In addition to the yahrzeit plaques we hang there are 2 hanging lamps, a Ner Tamid from each of our sanctuaries in our Patterson buildings, fashioned each in the style of their times. The eternal light connects us with all who have gathered in Barnert sanctuaries during our 175 years. Remember that the original instruction for lighting the Ner Tamid was given not to the leaders, but to each and every Israelite, each and every ordinary person in the community. Barnert is here because all of the people who kept that lamp burning. In our new sanctuary, our new Ner Tamid will be created with the art of Deborah Freelander. Her memory is a blessing. Deborah was the daughter of our Rabbi Emerita, Elise Frischman, and Rabbi Dan Freelander. Deborah's art is about the beauty of our natural world, the beauty in each of us, who are the earth's trusted custodians, and perhaps most importantly, about our responsibility to care for that which has been entrusted to us. When our sanctuary is complete and we are ready to install our new Ner Tamid, we will retain this one, just as if we have done with the holy lamps we pass each time we enter and exit. From the original instruction to sustain a Ner Tamid to the new one we are preparing to place before us, it has always been true that each of us is needed to make this makom kadosh, to make space for our God who dwells at the intersection of sacred place and sacred story. Ma norah hamakom hazeh, how awesome is this holy place that is saturated with God. There's a story that is told about a man who lived in a small village many centuries ago, long before electricity. He wished to build a synagogue as a gathering place for his community, to learn, to pray, to celebrate. So he set to work on a construction project. The project took many years, but finally it was completed, and everyone in the town came to celebrate its dedication. The synagogue was beautiful, warm and inviting, and would indeed be a fine place to learn, pray, and celebrate. However, shortly after the people entered the space, they noticed that something was missing. The building had no lamps. "Where are the lamps to the building?" they asked. The man smiled as he lit a torch and showed them that along all the walls of the synagogue were little hooks. There were hundreds of them, one for every person in the village. "This is how we will light the synagogue," the man began. "Each of you will bring your own lamp from home. When you are all here, this room will be full of light for us to learn and pray and celebrate. And when you are not here, we will see that the room is darker, and we will miss you." One by one, the people placed their lamps on the hooks and watched as the whole room filled with light. Everyone made a special effort to bring their light to the synagogue every time they gathered. Everyone knew that their presence mattered. May 5784 bring us together, living our Judaism of embrace here at Barnert, in this place that is saturated with the Holy One, this intersection of sacred place and our sacred stories. May each of us fill this makom and our new one with light. May we embrace the kadosh, the sacred in each other, thereby creating the sacred in this place. Then we will truly be able to say, "Ma norah hamakom hazeh," how awesome and holy is this place. Shana Tova.